Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
Gosh dang Mariners.
Gosh darn for you there. Let's amp it
Try to
up.
keep it PG.
Gosh darn is PG.
I said I'm trying to keep it PG.
This PG-13 only here. Um, the gosh darn Mariners is right. That's what we're going to be talking about today. A lot of inconsistent play. The Mariners are a little bit behind where we thought they would be at this point in the season. And we want to delve into the reasons we think that is the case. But before we do that, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy that probably should be going to more Mariners games because the Mariners are 5-1 when I attend them this year. So maybe I'm the problem. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. And that's your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on Twitter at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red. Find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two. And while you're at it, hop on over to the podcast page at Coach Red Pod on Twitter and Insta. Follow us. Do it, freaking do it. And if you're looking for a guy where maybe he's also got a little Taylor Swift in him because he hasn't been to any games this year. So he has a blank space, baby, and he'll write your name. And that's your boy, Cain.
Yeah, I'm Cain. You can find me on Twitter at Cain2406, on YouTube at Cain06, TikTok and Twitch at Cain0624. And the only time I'll probably be at the stadium this year is the home run derby. Tickets are expensive.
Yeah. That's why if you live close, you get to go to value games and they're a lot
Yeah,
less expensive.
I don't. So
Well, so that sucks to suck. But why have the Mariners been sucking, in your opinion? One reason, and then we'll discuss.
one uh, pitching is falling apart. I mean, dude, they're giving up. Like the consecutive games of 10 plus runs is absolutely like Texas and in the Rangers in the Yankees series were absolutely terrible. Like I don't even know what they do. Like get a new pitching coach, something. It's just not working this year.
Agreed,
I just don't know.
agreed,
I just saying.
agree to disagree a little bit because you've often brought up the pitching. And I think that you are running into a multitude of factors for this. Is every pitcher is going to have a stinker or two. So in the Rangers series specifically, the one where you talked about them giving up multiple runs back to back games. So that was on the backs of Brian Woo's first career start and then
Right.
Bryce Miller's first stinker of the bunch. So it's a little bit tough because, especially with younger guys, which when you really look at this right now, four of your top five starters four of your five starters in the rotation right now are 2 years of MLB service or less. So
Right.
consistency is not always going to be the key. I think there you look at, George Kirby goes out and stymies the Yankees and then in his next start absolutely gets lit up. And when you look at it with like George Kirby per se, he's been a guy that has given up more hits this year, but has just worked his way out of it. And then you've
Right.
got those games where Logan Gilbert is high strikeout, but still giving up some runs. And I think a little bit of it could be the mentality of that control the zone because Kirby's always around the zone. Logan Gilbert's always around the zone. Bryce Miller's been around the zone. Luis Castillo's not a big outside the zone swing and miss type pitcher. And Brian Woo's still a little young pup, and we're still getting to learn a little bit more about him. So I think that when you couple all those factors together, if you look at the season as a whole, I think that a lot of those can be chalked up as you're going to have bad starts. But let's just segue it right into mine. The bats have just been inconsistent at best. And I don't mean specific players, but I am going to break down some specific players. But I think the thing is you haven't had the guys hot at the same time, and the guys that
Mm-hmm.
have been hot at the same time have been spaced too far apart in the order at that same time. So, beginning of the year, Jared Kelnick, man on fire, hitting everything, doing super well. JP Crawford comes out of the box super hot, and Eugenio Suarez. So
Yep.
when you look at that, JP started low in the lineup.
Yep.
You
He's
had
your 9 hitter.
then he gets moved to the leadoff. Jared Kelnick's tearing it up. He's around the 6th spot, and then Suarez is fitting in 4 and 5. So you saw some games where some runs were being scored, but then those guys have gone a little bit colder. JP's still getting on base, but he's not hitting the ball as well. And Kelnick's gone pretty cold. He's still getting that occasional dinger out, but the strikeout numbers are
Yeah.
back up. And
He's down
Suarez,
to
same thing.
263 now.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. But currently, you've got Ty France, who's on fire, Teoscar
Yep.
Hernandez, who's on
On
fire,
fire.
and Julio, who is heating up. It's just a lot of the, and one guy that I want to throw in that's been actually probably your most consistent guy for his entire stint this year. It's Jose Caballero.
I love Jose Caballero.
He's like
Love him.
sixth in AL All Star voting right now.
It puts
He's like
so
the third high, like he's like the third highest WAR guy for second baseman right now in
yeah,
the
and
in
like
MLB.
it's tough because Demo's back and Demo's,
Still trying. He hasn't got a hit yet.
he's trying to figure it out. He's trying to figure it out, and I get it. I get it. You're coming off a pretty long stint, not doing a whole lot.
Let me throw something else in there real quick because I think here's the other thing is a lot of these players are super taxed too for early in the season. There's not been a whole lot of days off. And when they do have those days off, the guys that are getting those at bats are so sporadic where it's like Pollock gets, 1 to 2 games a week, maybe. Murph's
Mm-hmm.
been heating up a little bit. Cal Raleigh's
Yeah.
kind of been who he is. So Murph's getting a few more, but like Sam Haggerty, maybe once a week in a game. Colton Wong, I mean, he's got to be getting DFA'd soon. The dude's not even seeing the field, not even against righties right now. You've also, funnel in Mike Ford, who's getting some at bats, like Taylor Trammell was kind of in and out. But a lot of these guys are getting tasked to go out there and try to work themselves out of it. Sometimes you just need a couple of days off. And the thing that's tough is you didn't build the depth that you expected. You expected these guys that perform at such a high level and such clutch moments for you in the past, like Sam Haggerty coming off an injury, Dylan Moore coming off an injury. And then you're expecting Cal Raleigh to stay as hot as he was last year. You're getting Tom Murphy off of a big injury. You expected Julio Rodriguez to stay as hot as he did last year. You expected a Eugenio to stay as hot as he did last year with putting the ball out of the park with authority. And that hasn't necessarily worked out. There have been games, you look at the game last night, and so far the game today, they're up 3-0 on a Cal Raleigh 3-run dinger that was an absolute moonshot. But you're not getting that consistently enough. You're getting
No.
3 or 4 hits, and a lot of those are singles. You look at the Sunday game against the Angels; they had like 10 hits, and they scored 4 runs. They were
Yeah,
out hit by the Angels by 2 and outscored by the Angels by 4 or
it's
5,
just
5,
tough
5, 5.
because when they do have runners in scoring position, it just they don't
Their batting
capitalize.
average is like top half of the Major League Baseball in with runners in scoring position. That's the wild thing. Get more guys at second base.
Exactly. I just
Steal more bags. You got speed. I mean, Ty France even has a stolen base this year.
I mean
Gosh
the
darn it.
pitch clock works so well for the speed we have on the roster. It really does.
You bring up another point. Is the pitch clock to blame a little bit?
I do think so. I do think so because when you let me go off the Mariners real quick and go to a different guy who had a freaky windup was Luis Garcia of the Astros or Nestor Cortez, right? They do all the funky stuff with like he rocks the cradle, then he goes and do his long ass motion. that's a long time for,
To
in
stay
between
locked in.
pitches. Right. And so you're seeing averages spike this year, but
Off
in the
of that.
Mariners case, it's just like you said, somebody's hot one day, then they're not the next, or something like that. And it's just like they're not scoring like they should,
And
especially with the talent that's on this roster. In my opinion, is better than what they put out last year.
oh, 100% agree. I think the other thing too is a lot of the talk going into the year for the pitch clock was the burden that was going to be on the pitcher. And I think for the Mariners, it just seems like they've seemed rushed in the box. I know that that a lot of their guys take a lot of calculated risks, but the two guys who I think feel the least rush is JP Crawford, who's like, as soon as the pitch, like the catcher's throwing the ball back, he's already looking back to get the pitcher locked in.
Yeah.
And Caballero, who is just a magician on looking up at the exact right time to not get any repercussions against him. So,
Mm-hmm.
but there's plenty of times where I see Kelnick has looked sped up, Gino, Teo, uh, Julio. France really hasn't, but France has been your most high average, consistent power type guy on the
Right.
squad,
Yeah.
which we somewhat expected going into this year because he was such a key piece last year. And when the wrist is healthy, I mean, he's one of the most complete hitters on the team.
I agree. There is one player I do want to specifically call out, and that is
Oh,
Julio. That is Julio. Every time I
wait,
see him in the box, I see him swing for the fence, and I'm sick and tired of it. Like, the hits are gonna come. Just swing the freaking bat. Um, that is my big problem. His first at bat today, he took a daddy hack. It's like, I get it, man. I get it. You want to be the guy, and you're gonna be the guy, but you just have to play your way. And I just don't think swinging for the fences it's never good.
but he's done that consistently. I think, especially, I've noticed this in the last couple of games. He's been, especially early on the game, getting thrown a off-speed pitch at the bottom of the zone, which borderline strike. He may swing, he may not, but if he gets in the hole, especially 0-1, it's not great for him. And then
No.
as the game goes along, they sneak a fastball in first pitch and could be middle, and he's watching it go by because he's not expecting it. And now you're back in that 0-1 hole. And, if you talk to any pitching coach in probably all of MLB, the best pitch in baseball is strike one.
Right. Like, he just swung at one that was just so far inside. It's
But yeah, I
crazy.
mean, that's the thing is with Julio, this is exactly who he is. You know, he, he's a top guy in exit velo on every ball he puts in play. And you're gonna take the good with the bad. And when he
Right.
gets hot and he sees stuff early and is locked in, the dude's a monster. But he
Right.
is going to be susceptible to some cold streaks. And especially, they've moved him back up to the 2 hole because he's getting a little bit hotter. Ty France is also getting hotter. But I think the other thing that really you have to look at is Ty France an intimidating factor behind him? Because are you going to attack Julio, or are you going to maybe try and nibble and maybe take the walk and see what Ty France can do? Because Ty France, for all of the glowing things we say about him, like, dude is a double play monster.
His only 6 home runs, that's as many as he's hit this year, has all come at T-Mobile Park. I want that known too.
He loves home.
Like, I get it, right?
There's
He's an
no place
av
like home.
he's
There's no place like home.
he gives me it's like Luis Urias, kind of. He's got that swing to just put it anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they have Luis Urias hitting leadoff.
Yeah.
I
I think
think
Ty
Ty
France's
France.
best spot is two. I know why he's hitting three is because Julio was still. I know why he's hitting three because the power number spiked again after he got plunked. Like it looked like his wrist was going to explode again. I thought we were going back down the rabbit hole, and then he comes back and hits like 3 homers in the next 2 days,
Right.
which is half of his season total. But he just puts the ball in play and he puts the ball to all parts of the field, and sometimes for contact, sometimes for power. And he's a good doubles guy because he's got to hit the ball to the fence, or else he's not making it to second.
I just think with this lineup, how they have it, JP needs to be the leadoff hitter, no matter what. I just think he is too good at getting on base. He's very good at picking up first pitch and throwing the barrel to it. And honestly,
he's gotten hotter as of late.
right. I think you keep him there for the rest of the year. Don't let J Rod see that spot again.
But
For the
I don't. The thing is like I like Ty France in the 2 hole a lot too because I like his ability to move the runner over
right.
and be that guy that can also get on base. The only downside of having Ty France in the 2 hole instead of the 3 hole is that overall team speed because then you put Julio in front of him and then you might be limiting Julio's ability to take an extra base because of the speed of Ty France in front of him.
I get that, but it's just when you think 3 hitter, you think
Ty France.
power hitter.
Ty France.
You know, that's just I don't know. There's
Great
just
stud. That's why the dynamic of Julio and Ty France last year in the 1-2 spot was just so nice because they both had a really good year. Ty France slowed in the second half after the wrist injury, but Teoscar is. We've talked about it before on the pod, and Teoscar's really mellowed out a little bit. He's gotten a little bit better at swinging outside of the zone, but he's also been pretty solid about now hitting the ball to right field, where he was heavy pull, trying to muscle everything over. And now he's kind of hitting the ball to all parts of the field a little bit more and just hitting it where it's pitched. And I think that if you can get dialed in for that for a little, and then people are like, okay, there he's starting to hit the slider and he's taking it the other way. Let's get the fastball in there. If you're seeing the ball well, you're seeing the ball well. If they try to sneak that fastball by you, that ball might be going about 425 feet.
right. I do love Teo in the 4 or 5.
I think that's his natural position.
Yeah, I think he is that big power bat that the Mariners do need. But I just think this team needs a kumbaya moment. Really, they're not having fun.
They need another vet.
I agree. But the big thing the last 2 years, right? They were having fun. And it just makes you miss Mitch Haniger even more.
I don't even think it's that. I think that, yeah, that's one thing. One thing is the having fun differential. But the other thing that makes it tougher now is there's expectation. You made the playoffs last year. You won a playoff series. You played tooth and nail 3 games against the Astros, and there's expectation built that you should be there. With a team that is centered around younger players with limited playoff experience, they're trying to get back there, and there's a little bit of pressing, and that has led to dumb mistakes because you're thinking about other things so much. The base running mistakes over the course of the weekend were horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
Picked off multiple times. If I'm going to say there's one thing that Jose Caballero does not well, not getting picked off is not one of his strengths. Like a few more times than I'd like to see. But and Ty France gets picked off at first. What's Ty France doing getting picked off at first?
Yeah, I don't understand it. But to touch on the fun thing one more time, you look around the league and like the Diamondbacks, they're having fun. They're leading the division.
The Reds are having so much fun right now.
Oh my God, the Reds! Yes,
they're just fire. Like the Mariners were yesterday. All sorts of fun.
They are on fire. But then the team having the most fun, Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, look at that. Like I don't think it's because they're winning. I just think they're having such a good
I,
time. Well, yeah, it's
winning is fun.
well,
I
right.
wouldn't classify the Oakland Athletics as one of the funner teams in the league.
No, no. But what I mean is they've kept this positive energy around atmosphere, and
They're
it's
so
working out.
vet laden with superstar youngsters
Oh, I
sprinkled
know
in
they are.
there.
I know they are.
I
Trust me,
mean,
I hear all about it from Ben.
yeah, but that's the thing is expectation is tough. You see that. Let's talk another team, the Yankees and the Red Sox. There's expectation every year for them to do well. When they don't do well out of the gate, it spirals the rest of the year, and then the expectation is they're back at the top every year.
Right.
And that's been tough on both of them. And you've seen a lot of up, down, up, down, up, down with those teams.
Mm-hmm.
We're so starved for the Mariners to do well, had a good season, had some playoff success. And I think that's a lot of it. The Mariners right now are still like top 5 in home attendance in all MLB
Mm-hmm.
because we love watching the Mariners. The
Right.
Mariners have been hard to watch for the last 3 weeks.
Yes. Yes. I haven't been watching as much because it's just I'm
Make the
so upset.
Mariners watchable again.
I mean, it's crazy that like the teams that are more towards the 500 level, they're like, oh yeah, we'll play these teams hard. We'll play them very well. But then you get to the Rangers, the Yankees, all of the teams that are doing really well,
Atlanta.
and it's just like, nope, bend you over. That's what we're gonna do. Like it, it's just so tough to see that they don't play. They're playing to the talent they're playing to,
The
except
thing
if
that
it's
makes it
Oakland.
tough is they're not doing that as much this year because they're actually beating the bad teams.
Yeah.
Last year they would play up to the good teams and had a better record against winning teams than I expected. And some of their hiccups were against the not so good teams outside of their division. And it's been like a flip flop this year where they are you handle the Rockies, you've handled the A's.
Right.
You know, these teams, early on when the Cardinals weren't doing so hot. You won 2 out of 3, if I'm
I
not
mean, they're still
mistaken.
not doing so hot. They haven't
See, I
even
don't
won
follow the
30
full MLB,
games.
but here we go. But the thing that we also have to look at is if you're near 500 at the All Star break, there's still a shot to make a run. It's a lot tougher this year with how well the Rangers have played in the division, how hot the AL East has been as a whole
Yeah.
with their record. It's going to be a lot more difficult, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
impossible because, like we've said, there are players, and we didn't even talk about the bullpen, but the bullpen's probably been the brightest spot, except for in those blowout games where it's just like the bullpen's like, I got to throw, and that's it. But in high leverage situations, they've been pretty nails all year.
I mean, let's talk about the rookie debut yesterday, real quick.
I didn't see it.
He threw two. I believe he didn't get a hit or a run, so he
There you go.
two
Tie
shutout
cock.
innings.
Tie cock.
Super awesome. Last question that I have for you for this Mariners team: are they buying or are they selling
I'm going
at
to give
the
you the
deadline?
Jerry DePoto answer. They're going to do both. They're going to do both. Last year was like the first year where they were buyers all the way through,
Yeah.
but they're going to do things that aren't great. A couple of years ago, they trade Kendall Graveman for Abraham Toro. And then they turn, which looks like a sell move, and then they turn around and acquire a bat.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we doing here? It's a little bit of both. But they were kind of in that area where they weren't trying to give up big prospects. They were trying to shuffle things around. And I think that's the tougher thing because they're not to a point where they're all in yet. And I don't think that that's going to be this year. You
Right.
have some pending free agents like Ty France, Eugenio Suarez, Teoscar Hernandez, Tom Murphy. Those are your main core guys that are going to be up for free agency. So who of those guys are back? Are they? It's not like they have a girth of depth in the minors at those positions. So what are you going to do there? That's going to be the tough thing. Is you don't want to gut the farm and to go get somebody that could be a rental, could be a higher price guy potentially, and then have some of your core players out the door. But then you also got to look, Eugenio Suarez isn't getting any younger. Ty France is still in the years of prime. Suarez is getting closer to the older years of prime. Teoscar Hernandez is getting to the older years of prime. Are those guys that are going to be back next year? Are they going to make a run at
like that Tim Anderson or something like that.
like Ohtani? Are they going to do that in the offseason? I don't know. Jerry DiPoto says he's going to, but are the purse strings going to be open? And
No.
Mariners Twitter is very divided at a lot of times. But I saw something on the screen a couple of weeks ago where they were talking about large contracts given out by the Mariners, and it was like Seager, Robbie Cano, Felix Hernandez, and then you had Luis Castillo and Julio Rodriguez. So it's not like
Yeah.
and Robbie Ray, I think, was in there too. No, I think Felix is out and Robbie Ray was in. So it's like on this roster right now, you have three of the largest contracts that the Mariners have ever given out.
Yeah.
Teoscar Hernandez is not the cheapest per year
I
guy.
think it's like 18.
And Eugenio Suarez isn't cheap either. And JP Crawford is a steal dollar wise for what he brings to the table. But that's kind of the other side of the coin is they have spent money. They're not at the
Right.
level of spending money that the
On a
Yankees.
superstar.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get Ohtani, and the sole reason is Ohtani's going to a place that's gonna win next year.
But
And
he
he's gonna
doesn't
be
want to
a
play. He doesn't want to play not on the West Coast. That's kind of the thing that makes that he wants to play on the West Coast. I don't think he goes to the East Coast.
I don't
Think
think so
about
either, but
Ohtani.
I
Like
just don't think ends up in Seattle. I just don't. It's
it
too
was
much money
close.
to throw his
I
way.
don't know. The thing is, Luis Castillo would love. They were playing back and forth in the game where they were playing, where he gets the strikeout, Trout turns around and gives Ohtani the fist, and it was great. It was awesome to see, even though he didn't win the game. But it was fun to see their dynamic. And Ohtani is a big time star, and I think that he's a better superstar than say like Mike Trout, who doesn't want to be in the limelight really. Otani's a little bit more like that, but I don't think Ohtani wants to be big baseball market guy either. I don't think
Yeah.
he wants to go to New York and pitch in the pillbox. I don't think he
No.
wants to go to Boston, where that's the thing. You played for the Angels, you say you want to win, but when every day you're on the bigger stages of baseball, it can wear on people. And is he going to be the type of guy that wants that, or does he want to be the type of guy that Team USA, first Team Japan, you could when you looked at that team, Team Japan had 4 major league ball players,
With
and
many more to come.
USA was all service time major league players, and you win the game. Does he want to do that for an organization that has been competitive? Like, if I don't think like I think the Mariners have a shot. You know what team would be another option? The Orioles, the East Coast, but
I could see it.
upstart. I mean, it's a baseball city, but it hasn't been relevant for a while. But there's a team that I think could be in the similar mold of haven't been super relevant in the baseball landscape, have good young cores, have competed for the
Yeah.
playoffs or been in the playoffs,
I
and
could I
you're
could
one or two
100%
pieces
see
away
that.
potentially. That would be that's an off-season topic, but we talked about why we think that the Mariners have sucked and kind of worked our way around why we think that those ideas are valid or not. And let's know what you think. hop on over to social media. You can find me, boy, Coach Red, on Twitter at The Real Coach Red, on Instagram at The Real _Coach Red. Hop on over to YouTube, search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two while you're at it. Hop on over to the podcast page on Twitter and Insta at Coach Red Pod. Follow us. Do it, freaking do it. Cain, where you at?
Find me on Twitter at Cain2406, on YouTube at Cain06, TikTok and Twitch, Cain0624.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.